Why do billion-dollar insurance companies regularly delay and deny valid claims? Because that's how they got to be billion-dollar insurance companies. If you've been injured, I'd like to help.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA filing number 16-7969.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona inviting you to check out LSU Daily.
WNXX, Jackson, KNXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury. LA 21-12. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Looking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. Means we're brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar. Lots and lots to get to here over the next couple of hours. The Saints have signed some undrafted free agents. We'll get to some of that here in 15 minutes. Glenn West, always with us on Tuesdays. He'll be here talking Tigers at 1:30. LSU basketball's got a visitor on campus this week. Blake Topmeyer from USA Today, part of the Gannett Network, had a sit-down with Brian Kelly that has just been posted today. It was a one-on-one interview that Gannett got with the head man here in Baton Rouge. We'll talk to Blake at 2 o'clock about LSU's football program. Ross Dellinger's got a piece up about some revenue-sharing possibilities in college athletics, and Sharif Ishak talking Pels and Saints at 2:30. Got Jacob Beck and Jordan Kitchens back there on the ones and twos, and appreciate you starting your work week with us here on this Tuesday. I want to start with the New Orleans Pelicans, whose season came to a close last night at the hands of the 1-seed Oklahoma City Thunder. And since the tight first game that these two teams played, it was really not all that competitive in games 2, 3, and 4. You can make your case one way or another with the scoreboard last night, but the Pels were outclassed in games 2, 3, and 4, and now have a season in the rearview mirror. Jordan, I'll get your thoughts here in a second, but I want to offer mine here first because I think this is a complicated situation because the NBA is a very interesting beast. It's all about roster composition, and that starts with superstars. And if you're Boston or LA, you have an easier time attracting superstars in the NBA. But there have been smaller market teams, not necessarily to the extent of New Orleans, but smaller market teams that have found a way to build great teams around stars. We've seen it in Milwaukee with Giannis. We've seen it in Denver with Jokic. And then you've seen Boston do their thing and LA do their thing, and you're looking at Oklahoma City right now, who, for my money, over the last 15 years has been the best drafting organization in the sport. But it's difficult for a smaller market team to get its star and then to strike while that iron is hot and to surround that star with a cast that's capable of competing at the highest level of the league. And for New Orleans, it's difficult to imagine climbing that mountain all the way to the top. In the NFL, everyone can do it. Some organizations are better. Baltimore is better than Chicago at doing it. Pittsburgh has been better than Cleveland at doing it. Green Bay has been better than Arizona at doing it. But theoretically, you're kind of all in the same pot. We've all got a lot of money. We've all got a salary cap. The good teams get the tougher schedule and the worst draft pick. The bad teams get the better draft pick and the easier schedule. And really, everybody kind of makes their run in the NFL. In the NBA, that's not necessarily the case. It's a top-heavy league. Now, the age of the super team is kind of going by the wayside, and it's more so superstar ancillary pieces. And that's the model the Pelicans have tried to implement here with the double lottery tickets they got in Anthony Davis and then eventually Zion Williamson. And we had no way of assessing the progress of the organization in the first few years of the Zion Williamson era. There were too many injuries and a global pandemic, and we just didn't know what was going on. This year, we got our best look. And for 82 games, they made real strides. They were exceptional on the road. They blew out a lot of the bad teams in the league. Those are steps forward. They weren't as good against the top of the league, but that's the top of the league. They won 49 games. They've won more than 49 games one time since they got to New Orleans. Hornets or Pelicans. Once. They've done better than that. Zion played 70 games, and he averaged 23 points per game, and he shot 57% from the floor. And in the biggest game you played, he had already dropped 30 points and then got hurt with 3 minutes to go. 40 points. And B.I. had been out for 6 weeks, and then you go into a series against the number 1 seed, and you've got a B.I. that's not capable of doing much of anything. He shot 34% for the series. And then CJ was a stinker as well, 24%, and he didn't have Zion. And that's a recipe for getting dusted. Is this an absolute failure of the organization? It is not. Is it what Pelicans fans signed up for? It is not. Is the league going to feel sorry for you? It is not. Are there going to be some real difficult conversations in that front office? There are. And I think as you look at next season, and I lay out some ages here, you've got to decide what pieces are you keeping and what pieces you are not. Zion Williamson will play his age 24 season next year. Brandon Ingram will play his age 27 season next year. Those guys are young. Herb Jones will play his year 26 season next year. Young. Trey Murphy, 24. Young. Then you look at CJ at 33 and Jonas Valanciunas at 33. And I would suggest CJ's game is going to age into the next 3 or 4 years. He's an exceptional shooter. He can spread the floor. He's very smart. He's durable. Is he the athlete he once was, the dynamic scorer he once was? No. But he can shoot, and that ages very well. And Jonas is someone I think they're going to move on from. They need a little more athleticism there. They need somebody who's better in the pick and roll game on defense there. Somebody that protects the rim a little bit better than he does there. That's a spot they've got to move on from. But I would suggest Brandon Ingram, Trey Murphy, all guys that could be part of the next package that tries to shake things up. I've kind of laid my case out there, Jordan. You watch this team night in, night out. You watched, obviously, this playoff series. Where are you on the things that I've kind of laid out there?
My biggest thing was I didn't watch the game yesterday. It was my birthday, so I wanted to protect my mental health.
Good. I'm glad you did that.
I felt like that was a little bit more important. The age thing is my biggest problem, right? It's because OKC is their average age is like 23, 24 years old, and they just swept y'all. So right now I'm a rotational piece for the OKC Thunder. I'm 24 years old. That's the problem right there. You have a team that started their rebuild before you, and they swept you. So, yes, Jonas has to go. CJ, I know what you say. You know, you like CJ. I'm more on the bandwagon of B.I., Trey, Brandon Ingram. Insert Trey Murphy into that starter role because he's a star. I mean, we may never know if he reaches that, pinnacle, but it's looking like you need to let him low. You got to let him off the reins. So I'm on the board of Trey, B.I., you got to let Jonas walk and bring in some type of athletic rim protecting lob threat. Nick Claxton from the Nets, perfect piece. But I'm just sick, man. It's like it's been the same story for the last 3 years. We're in the same position the last 3 years, so it's devastating.
I would suggest the end result. You're right, is the same. The way they got there is not the same.
It's not.
The way they got 49 wins, great road record, second best in the NBA. They took some strides, and I would have loved to see them find a way to win a couple of those games down the stretch, keep Zion healthy, and go play the Clippers or the Mavericks in Series 1. And then we'll see where we are. I know they're not as good as the Thunder, especially without Zion. Yeah. I didn't learn anything about that. I would have liked to see them with Willie Green on the bench, who hasn't been in this situation yet, play a full-blown best-of-7 against a team that I thought was right on par with them, which I think Dallas and the Clippers and a couple of the other teams in the West really are. I wouldn't even suggest the Suns are significantly better than the Pelicans, even though Booker seems to go off on them every time they play. Yeah. I would have liked to see in a 7-game series. We didn't get a chance to see that, but I do think tough decisions have to be made. Beck?
Yeah, I actually did end up going to the game last night, and I was pretty pleasantly surprised by the crowd. It was actually a pretty good crowd. The fans were great in that game, and it was 83-82. I remember distinctly what the score was and what time it was because Manny Fresh actually came out and did like a little time. He did like an in between timeouts little show, and it was pretty awesome. But it was 80-80 with about 7 minutes left. 83-82, about 6 minutes left, and the Pelicans were in the game, and then that's it. And that's what's happened. That's what happened in the first game as well, where they had a chance to win. They shut down offensively, and I think just the biggest point for me on this series was Brandon Ingram, and he said it himself. He said he was not the player he needed to be in the series, and that, he said that's going to motivate him. Well, I wish it would have motivated him before it came to this, but
he was 19 of 56 from the floor, 34% over 3 games, 4 games.
And in this game particularly, being at the game, every time he got the ball, the crowd would start kind of like getting louder, like, okay, he's going to do something. He would make a move and then pass. He had 6 assists, it's okay. I'd rather him have 18 or 20 points and 1 assist as opposed to 8 points and 6 assists, where that you need Brandon Ingram to make those shots, and he just hasn't looked like the same player he was in the regular season. And to the point of Jonas Valanciunas, I understand why everyone wants to move on from him, because he's probably going to garner a pretty good. He's a free agent now, so it's not like that they can't trade him. They can re-sign him or let him go. In my opinion, I really like Jonas Valanciunas. I think he's a really good player. He's played well in this series. He defended Chet Holmgren pretty well, although Chet missed a lot of he just missed a lot of open threes, which kind of Pelicans were lucky in that regard. But they do need someone, I think, probably a little bit more athletic. But I still think that this team could play well, and we saw them play well with Jonas and Zion on the court. But it just seems like they're going to move on. He's a little bit older, so if they can find someone that's, because Larry Nance is just not a center in the NBA. He's too small.
Yeah.
So it's.
I don't think there are very many. I'm not going to say none, but there are not very many Pelicans fans who not appreciate what Jonas Valanciunas brought to this franchise over his time here. He's been very durable. He's played a ton. He's been physical. He's been a good offensive player. He's limited on defense, and that's just a problem spot, quite frankly, in this league. But I guess to kind of put a bow on this, Jordan, like you say you want to move on from BI, and I don't disagree with that at all. How do you feel? What's your optimism level moving forward with Zion Williamson as the dude?
I feel great about it. Well, I mean, okay. My optimism level, it was way high. It took a dip after that Lakers game because it's like you played 70 games, you basically shut all the noise out, and now it's the same noise from the last 4 seasons basically again. You're hurt, and you wasn't there when the team needed you the most. But Zion is the guy. I mean, we've seen 70 games. He's the guy. Like you see it. Brandon Ingram had the opportunity to try and take the reins back a little bit, and you drop 8 points in the elimination game. Yep. It's unexcusable. Like, no matter how you want to chop it up, it's unexcusable. That's Najee Marshall stats. It's unexcusable.
Well, and actually, it's funny you mentioned Najee Marshall. He was the only reason this game was even close because the bench actually put in like 22, 24 points in this game, and that the bench has been non-existent this whole series, but Najee Marshall came in and hit 4 threes and kind of actually kept the Pelicans in the game a little bit. And he's out. He's also his contract's also ending. I don't expect him to be returning.
Yeah,
but
he's looking for a bigger role for sure.
Yeah, so it's just tough, man. I hate this. I hate the way this series went. And with Zion, I think it goes a little differently, but I still don't expect. If Brandon Ingram still plays that way, then you're not gonna make this a series.
All we wanted was one. We're not asking for a win. We were just asking for one win. That's it, man. Not asking for much.
Had your chance in game 1, got away, and then that was it. Thunder were off and running. So into the offseason for the New Orleans Pelicans. Our Tuesday show is brought to you by Pluckers. We'll be at Pluckers tonight for sports trivia, 8:30, watching LSU baseball, watching some NBA hoops. I'll be watching the Cubbies. We'll be giving away gift cards, delicious cold beers, and great wings. Pluckers brings you our Tuesday shows each and every week. Saints signed some undrafted free agents. I got a couple that are very interesting for some different reasons. We'll talk about that coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Don't let the power go out on you. No reason to let that happen. You give yourself the peace of mind with the folks at Boudreaux's Electric. They're a certified Generac generator dealer, a premier Generac generator dealer. It's an easy process. You have them come out, whether it's your home or your office, and you tell them what your needs are. Here's my square footage. Here's what I need powered in the event of an outage. Some people want the whole house and business up and running. Some people, hey, just keep it cool. Make sure the fridge and freezer are running. Or maybe I need a TV here. They can handle that as well. And depending on what those needs are, they customize a generator for you. And when you make that selection, a full-time Boudreaux's Electric employee will come out and make that installation. They're going to do it with the highest quality in copper and plumbing and tubing. They're going to do all your wiring as well. And they're going to do most of it underground so that it's aesthetically pleasing. You don't have some eyesore right outside of your home. Technology that Boudreaux's Electric has will allow them to monitor your generator 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So even in the event that there's no outage and you don't even know that your generator has failed, there's a mechanical issue, Boudreaux's Electric will know. They can send a technician out there, get it fixed so that when that storm rolls through, when that hurricane rolls through, you're protected and you'll have that power when you need it the most. It's Boudreaux's Electric. You can find them in Gonzales or the original in Napoleonville. The phone number 985-397-1562. 985-397-1562. That's my friends at Boudreaux's Electric.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $11,000 off the new 23 Dodge Charger. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $11,000 off the powerful new Charger. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
So join us for Tuesday's AFR presented by Sunshine. Shay Dixon joins us to talk the latest on LSU football and the transfer portal. We're recapping Pels Thunder and previewing LSU Grambling from the box. It's Tuesday's AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, Brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Glenn West, Go 247 with us, talking LSU baseball here in about 10 minutes. Looking forward to our weekly chat with Glenn. We'll get back on the Pelicans train with Sharif at the bottom of hour number 2. I want to right now talk about some of the undrafted free agents that the Saints have signed. We're not going to go through the entire list because that's a bit of a futile exercise. Undrafted free agents are a huge part of the NFL as a whole, but if you look team to team, you're not looking at 6 guys who you think that are undrafted are going to make the team. You're looking for a guy here or there that can maybe fill a role as an undrafted free agent. And so that's kind of what we're looking for here. And I'll run through some of the lists of the ones that were more exciting to me. Number 1 on this list is not even close to number 2. I don't know who number 2 on this list is in terms of intriguing prospects to me, but number 1 is easy. And that's Dallin Holker. Dallin Holker is a tight end from Colorado State. 6'4", 235 pounds, not necessarily a massively imposing tight end figure, but a good frame. He played 3 years at BYU, also did his mission. So you're looking at a player that is 24 years old upon entering the NFL draft. In his 1 year at Colorado State, he was really productive. 64 catches, 167 yards, and 6 touchdowns. He was a second-team All-American by 5 different outlets. I think you'll have very little trouble guessing who the first-team All-American tight end was. That, of course, Brock Bowers over in Athens. So Holker was the second-team All-American by a number of publications. If you'll recall that Colorado State-Colorado game early in the season, it was a track meet back and forth. Holker had a big game that day, had a couple of touchdown catches, including one on a trick play in the back of the end zone. He was a finalist for the Mackey Award. So I feel like because the Saints have, I don't know if a need at tight end, but a potential upgrade here or there at tight end. You realize last year you had Juwan Johnson do some work there. Foster Moreau was available at times. You know what you've got in Taysom Hill as well. And we thought maybe the Saints go with Brock Bowers in the first round. In no way do I think Dallin Holker is on Brock Bowers' level. But I do think in an offense that's looking for some pass catchers, this is an older, mature player who was super productive at Colorado State that I think has a chance to make this team. I wouldn't, stake my next paycheck on it, but I feel like this is a guy who, based on production, measurables, age, I feel like probably should have been a draft pick, and the Saints prioritized him and made him an undrafted free agent signing. I think this is a really good one for New Orleans. That's number 1 for sure on my list. I'll go through some other ones that caught my eye. Trajan Jeffcoat is a name that you'll know if you're an LSU and SEC football fan. He was at Arkansas this past year, at Missouri for 3 years before that. Big outside rusher, 6'4", 265 pounds, 60 games between Missouri and Arkansas in SEC competition. 60 games. As a senior at Arkansas, 8.5 tackles for loss, had 4 sacks. He led Arkansas in quarterback pressures and hurries. That's a spot the Saints didn't necessarily do a ton to upgrade in the NFL draft. Jeffcoat didn't strike me in college as an elite level talent, but he's big, he's physical. He did make some plays behind the line of scrimmage last year. I don't know that I would rule him out as a chance for a practice squad guy or someone who could theoretically make the team on a defensive front. Mason Tipton is a wide receiver from Yale. He's 5'11", 187 pounds, so a shorter slot guy, but big-time speed. This is kind of in the Rashid Shaheed mold, so maybe you've already got that box checked, but he's 3rd in Yale history in career receiving touchdowns. He was a 3-time All-Ivy League performer, and he ran really fast, 4.33 in the 40 for a undersized receiver. Again, it's kind of in the Shaheed role, so maybe not, but you're looking to add to that receiver room. I liked what I saw when I kind of did some digging on Mason Tipton as well. Local product for the New Orleans Saints. They go to Tulane and get Sincere Haynesworth. I love this signing because this is a guy who understands how to play the offensive line position. He started 43 games at center at Tulane. He was the Americans Offensive Lineman of the Year. Tulane won a lot of games. He played center for a really good quarterback in Michael Pratt. He's durable. He's got pretty good size. The Saints need help on the offensive line. not necessarily as much on the interior, but you're always looking for offensive linemen that can help. And like Hainsworth's not going to be a combine all-star, but this is a guy who played on a couple really good Tulane teams, has started for 4 years basically at the center position. I think this is a nice ad that you can find from a local guy who comes in and can maybe challenge for a spot on your active roster. Another local product, actually from here in Baton Rouge, took a kind of a circuitous route to the New Orleans Saints, and that's Jacob Kibodi. He was a Christian Life product here in Baton Rouge, went to Texas A&M, then to Incarnate Word, then to Louisiana Lafayette, where he had a pretty productive final college season at Louisiana Lafayette, 5.7 yards per carry at ULL. My only concern with Kibodi here, he only caught 12 balls in 3 college seasons as a primary back. That's a really, really small number. So if you're looking for a little bit of versatility from somebody in this undrafted class, I don't know that Kibodi necessarily gives you that. We don't know what the Saints running back room is going to look like. Feel like Alvin Kamara will be back and hopefully is a little more productive than he was this past year. Williams was kind of a bust last year, and then you didn't really see anything from your rookie tailback who spent most of the time being hurt. So feels like there is opportunity there for somebody to come in and push to be a depth piece. Maybe Jacob Kibodi is that guy. And then the last one is at a spot that the Saints were poor at last year. There's really no way to say it otherwise, and so you want to bring in some competition there, and that's at punter. And so if I were to tell you were going to grab an SEC punter and you wanted to get the guy that had the most experience, wouldn't you go to Vanderbilt? That guy spends a lot of time punting. So that's where they find Matt Hayball. He was Vanderbilt's punter this past year. He's another Australia product, and you bring him in to compete with Lou Headley. I didn't realize this until I read it over on my Saints Wire story that I was reading. Headley was last in the NFL in hang time last year. That's not great. This is a sport and a league that cherishes those hidden yards, that cherishes special teams yards. And when you're last in the NFL in hang time, like, that's a real problem. So not that Hayball was a great hang time guy at Vanderbilt. He actually was not. But he's got a big leg, and you bring in a little bit of competition at the very least and see what you can do. Thomas Morstead's still bouncing around the league punting. Saints trying to do some things on the cheap on the punting side of things. They've got to be better punting the football this coming year than they were this past year. So that's a look at kind of the undrafted free agents that have caught my eye. Dallin Holker, tight end from Colorado State. Trajan Jeffcoat, an edge player from Arkansas. Mason Tipton, a slot speedy wide receiver from Yale. Sincere Hainsworth, a stalwart on the Tulane offensive line at center. Jacob Kibodi, running back from Louisiana Lafayette. And then Matt Hayball, a punter from Vanderbilt. I think those are some guys that do make a lot of sense as you move into OTAs and rookie minicamp and then towards training camp. Maybe a guy or two that could make the active roster there from your undrafted free agents. I've talked about this at length, at nauseum, broken record, whatever cliche you want to toss in there. I've done it. They've got to get cheaper and they've got to get younger. And you've got your draft picks that you've taken. You're going to try to take care of those guys and find a way to make them part of your team. The undrafted free agents can be the exact same thing and for very, very cheap. So we'll see what those guys can do as they head into rookie minicamp here in the coming weeks. We'll talk Sharif Ishak about it coming up here at the bottom of hour number 2. We'll take a timeout when we come back. Glenn West from Go 24/7 talking a little LSU baseball on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Visit us at LeBear's Baton Rouge Casino this spring for all the hoops and hockey playoff action. Got the biggest screens? That's good. Got the best food and drink? That's good. Plus, giving away PIN cash bonuses and prizes to PIN Play Rewards members. That is great. If you're not a member, no big deal. You can join today by downloading and registering for the PIN Play app from the App Store. You can unlock the fun, including a chance to win up to $2,000 in PIN cash. All this and more. Make LeBear's Baton Rouge Casino your spring sports viewing headquarters. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off F-150s, $10,000 off the new F-150 truck, plus 1.9% for 72 months. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction.
Sandigrove joined me and Jimmy Odd for the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch from Los Reyes Mexican Grill, Wesley at Nicholson. They're getting ready for Cinco de Mayo. Wes Reynolds will join us along with Scott Rabelais and professional handicapper Randy McKay. Live at Lunch from Los Reyes on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
.104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and the Baton Rouge Clinic bring you the Dreams Come True Radiothon. Dreams Come True is an organization designed to help grant dreams for children with life-threatening illnesses and their families. Dreams Come True Radiothon is presented today by Boudreaux Electric, Mid-City Title, and Unique Physique. Donate today at 104.5 ESPN.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Pluckers brings you our Tuesday shows. They also bring you our baseball breakdowns. We're going to talk some baseball next with Glenn West, senior writer over at Go 24/7. He joins us every Tuesday and joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Glenn, how are you?
Hey, Hunt. I'm doing okay. Pelicans got swept last night, but it sounds like changes are coming, so that's good. I think David Griffin's seen enough of that team, so that's good.
Yeah, I think there are going to be some significant ones. We talked about it at the top of our show today. There have been a lot of changes over the last 3 months with LSU baseball, within the lineup and in weekend rotations and the like. They've won the last 2 SEC weekends. Are they playing any better? Is their competition just that much worse, or a little bit of both?
It's probably a little bit of both, and I still think you've got a long ways to go at the plate. You saw it really, over the last 2 days of that Auburn series, they did not. It's a lot of the same stuff that keeps coming up with this team. They can't get off the field, with 2 outs on the pitching side of things. In that first inning, they scored, I think, all 5 of those runs in the first inning in the Sunday game. That came with 2 outs, or a good bit of them did. And then in the Saturday game, you had the 2-run third inning, and then you didn't score again until the bottom of the ninth. And I think the one silver lining there is that you got that walk-off win on Saturday, which was really nice. I think that was a win that this team needed. They needed a win like that, after they've had when they've gone through some struggles offensively at times this year. You haven't really seen this team get the big hit in those moments, and I think that was an important step So look, you're sitting here at 7-13. You got 3 more SEC series to go. I think we've talked about it now for a couple weeks. 13, 14 is kind of that range where you feel at least a little bit comfortable about your chances of getting into the postseason. That means you got to win at least 6 here in your next 9, and that's going to be a tall order, especially when you got A&M coming to the box this weekend.
No doubt about it. I'm talking about the team there playing better against lesser competition. Gage Jump has been significantly better against lesser competition. How encouraging has that been?
Yeah, I mean, look, 14 straight scoreless innings. He's done his job in that game 1 role, getting the team off to a really good start. I mean, that Friday game, you can't play much better complementary baseball than they did on Friday. I thought they were really, really solid defensively. They put together enough big swings at the plate, a couple home runs, which has really been kind of a big source of their identity offensively. But look, Jump's done a fantastic job. He's got he's locating all of his pitches really well. I think that slider and that curveball in particular have come a long way over the last couple weeks. And it was really important that they had him, in that spot and was able to kind of go 7 innings there, and that the offense and Alex Milazzo came through with some big hits there. We're able to kind of, save some of their big bullets out of the bullpen for later in the weekend. I thought that was a really important storyline for that first game. But certainly Jump has been a highlight, I think, from the pitching staff side of things. And, I think he's someone that you can, think you can rely on now going forward. I think he's just needed the reps. That's been something consistent out of Jay Johnson's mouth, for the last month or so. And I think now that he's getting, consistent reps and is facing these SEC offenses on a consistent basis, he's able to really kind of see what it's like to pitch at that level, and he's having some success now.
A&M can really swing it. Any reason to believe that Gage Jump could do something like he's done the last 2 weeks against that lineup on Friday?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a good litmus test to see just how far he's come. I mean, we talked, I remember last week, about kind of the top 5 of the Auburn offense being, a little bit more competent than, maybe the bottom half of their order, but this A&M team's on a whole nother level. And, it's going to be, I'm going to be very interested to see just kind of how he looks. I mean, I give him a shot to have some success, but I also think this is going to be a game where you have to have very complimentary play at the plate as well. And, they've shown the ability to do that in stretches this year, especially over the last 2 weeks in the Missouri and Auburn series. But this is back to those first 5-6 weeks of conference play where you were facing a gauntlet every single weekend. This is a team that's right up there with the best of them in the country in A&M, and it's going to be a real test for LSU this year to see maybe how far they've come over the last couple weeks, and just maybe how much improvement still needs to be made.
Nate Ackenhausen had to come out of his outing over the weekend with a hamstring issue. What do you know about his availability moving forward?
It sounds like he's going to be okay, and I say that now just a little bit hesitantly just because, the hamstring deal, it sounds like there was some hamstring tightness there. Immediately after the game, that's what Jay Johnson kind of said. It had nothing to do with the arm. But, you don't want to mess around with a hamstring either. I mean, those things can linger, even, in a sport like baseball, where, it's maybe not the most important, I guess, body part on a pitcher, but it's definitely part of your process and part of what you use to be effective on the mound. And so I would imagine that he, we don't know this for sure, but I'll be interested to see what Jay has to say later in the week about his availability. But look, they've done a nice job of getting some other guys in the mix. Aiden Moffitt, Cam Johnson. Certainly you have Griffin Herring out of the bullpen, and I do think the bullpen was probably one of your strengths of the weekend. There really wasn't a whole ton of runs scored out of the bullpen this weekend. So I think that's a positive, at least for LSU, if you might have to go a week or so without having to use Ackenhausen.
Yeah, he used Christian Little a couple times over the weekend, and he was as good as he's been at any time in Baton Rouge. Is there reason to think he can keep that rolling?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, he was firing. I mean, I was at the game on Friday, and I was watching a lot of the Missouri series where he also got some more work in. his fastball was up to 96 miles an hour, and I think the biggest thing with him though is just locating his pitches, and he's done a really nice job of that. He had kind of fallen into that kind of role of just being hit a lot, and I think he was probably leaving a few too many pitches over the plate. But he's done a nice job these last couple of weeks of kind of honing that in. He's not issuing as many free passes anymore either, which really helps him. And he's done a really nice job. I mean, he's got a nice slider as well. When that thing's cooking, it's a really tough, kind of 1-2 punch to kind of keep up with out of the bullpen. So hats off to him. He's done a nice job, and I think he's someone you see a lot of this weekend as well.
Jay Johnson's kind of looking for somebody to hit on the top of the lineup in front of Larson and Jones and White. He tried Mac Bingham and Paxton Kling over the weekend. They went 0 for 10 with 5 strikeouts. Do you have any idea who should hit first?
I don't. I mean, they tried so many guys there. I honestly, I think one of the things that you were able to see this last weekend was, I know it wasn't he had some really nice moments, but it was Alex Milazzo in the 9-hole hitter almost was kind of acting as your leadoff hitter was just with some of the timely hits that he had. He's the guy that he gets on base, and it's not always going to be a driving double through the gap or anything like that, but he does a really nice job of working long at bats and hitting the ball to the opposite field. Maybe you try Alex at a game, in a game at the leadoff spot and just see if he can't get on base a couple times. I think that's really what they're missing out of that leadoff spot. But I mean, they've tried pretty much everything. I wouldn't be surprised if they go back to Paxton and see if he can't try to get it going again, because he did have a couple nice weeks there where he was looking like he was figuring it out at the plate. But I honestly don't know. Maybe you go Milan. Milan's also a potential option, but he's kind of gone through his ups and downs as a true freshman as well.
Glenn West, our guest senior writer over at Go 24/7. Any news on the defensive tackle front at this point for LSU football?
Yeah, they've had a couple visitors in over the last few weeks. They've got a CCU guy in this week, and Dominic Williams. He's probably the number one target on a lot of teams' boards, and he's been to Texas and Oklahoma. He's on LSU's campus right now, and he's going to be there probably through most of Wednesday. So it's always been kind of the opinion, I think, going into this spring portal window that LSU would want to add 2 defensive tackles, and I think it's probably shaping up. You'd like to add one of the truly elite plug-and-play starters you can really have good faith in that can be a starter and impact player for you. And I think Dominic Williams is somebody that definitely fits that bill. They've also had Simeon Barrow, the Michigan State defensive tackle transfer. He's on campus at Miami this week. So there's kind of been a little bit of a slow burn with these defensive tackles. I think they're all kind of taking their time and evaluating all their options, because there are a lot of options for defensive tackles here this spring, and the amount of programs that are looking for help. So LSU's doing its due diligence. They're bringing guys in, and I think we probably hear something sooner than later on where these guys are going.
Glenn, we appreciate some time. We'll do it again next week.
All right. Thanks, Hunt.
Glenn West, senior writer over at Go 24/7. He and Sonny Ship do an awesome job over there with all your team coverage, with all your recruiting coverage. Glenn's got you on the baseball, basketball, and football side of things, and he's with us every single Tuesday here on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. All right, let's take a time out. When we come back, interesting news today that LSU basketball has brought in a new visitor. Could this be the final piece to the 2024-2025 roster? I'll tell you who it is coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
the best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $11,000 off the new 23 Dodge Charger. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $11,000 off the powerful new Charger. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, party plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off F-150s, $10,000 off the new F-150 truck, plus 1.9% for 72 months. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Musso, join us for Tuesday's AFR presented by Sunshine. Shay Dixon joins us to talk the latest on LSU football and the transfer portal. We're recapping Pels Thunder and previewing LSU Grambling from the box. It's Tuesday's AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
While you're busy with spring cleaning, we'd like to add to the clutter in your bank account to the tune of $2,000. It's the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge Spring Cha-Ching, powered by Citizens Bank and Trust. Register today at 1045ESPN.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
So, close out hour number one here on this Tuesday. We're brought to you by Pluckers. Get on by Nicholson, just south of campus, Bluebonnet in front of the Mall, Louisiana. Get you some Breggie's Creole Crush, Alex Bregman-inspired new sauce over there at Pluckers. I've tried it. It's very good. Got a little bit of kick to it, but a lot of flavor as well. It's fantastic stuff. Plus, getting out to Plucker Sports Trivia tonight. We'll be there from 8:30 to about 10 o'clock playing some sports trivia. Hope to see you out there at Pluckers on Nicholson. LSU men's basketball has one more spot left on the roster. And they're looking around, and ideally, in my opinion, when I look at LSU's basketball roster, I would like an active big who can block some shots. It's just not something I think they've got in spades right now. Jordan Reed is not necessarily a great defender or shot blocker. Damian Collins has the length and the athleticism, but hadn't necessarily done it in his 3 years in college basketball. So I'm not counting on a freshman to come in and be that guy. I would love it if they could find somebody that was 6'11" that could really block some shots. But to this point, that has not happened. So it feels like, based on a couple of predictions from the folks over at On3, that Jai Bailey, his name is spelled D-J-I, Jai Bailey, is potentially the next ad for LSU men's basketball. He's come on a visit, and things apparently went very well, and we'll see what the end result here is. But Jai Bailey is an interesting prospect. He is very much, in my opinion, in the mold of Jordan Wright. They have some differences, but I think there are a lot of similarities between Jai Bailey and Jordan Wright. He's 6'5". He is a senior, 195 pounds, and he's played at Richmond in his first college basketball stop for the last 4 years. This past season, he won the A10 Conference's Most Improved Player Award, which I think is noteworthy. I watched some film of Jai Bailey before I looked at the stat sheet because I wanted to just kind of see who the player was in front of me before I dove into the stats of what they told me that he was. And when I watched Jai Bailey on a highlight tape, and keep in mind it is just that, a highlight tape, I see a player that's got a very, very, very obvious identity. He's incredibly aware on the basketball court, and that allows him to do two things. One, defensively, he is in the passing lanes. He is disruptive. He is really, really good at creating turnovers defensively. And that was obvious to me. I mean, there were a couple times where teams are in transition and they're looking to make like some easy passes, and all of a sudden Jai Bailey turns around, he's in the passing lane, easy steal and going the other way. That was very evident to me. And then I turn on the tape and look at the stat sheet, and he was fourth in the A10 in steals. He had a 6-steal game against Florida earlier this year, which was really impressive. That jumped out at me. That's a guy who's making winning plays. His offensive identity is just as obvious. He is a really, really talented driver and attacker. At 6'5", nearly 200 pounds, he gets to the rim and finishes with both hands off the glass, above the rim, really, really well. You can see that on tape, and that's very obvious when you look at the statistics sheet as well, because he shot 56% from the floor last year, which is the fourth highest in the history of the program at Richmond. Now, he is not a three-point shooter. He shot more than 3 threes exactly 0 times last year in a single basketball game. It wasn't like he bricked them all. He was a reasonable shooter at 32% from three-point range, but he most of the time took 1 or 0 threes. He never took 4 in a single game. And so when you look at a guy that doesn't shoot a lot of threes, that's elite finishing at the rim, and then you look at his free throw percentage, and for the season he shot 57%, you realize this is not a shooter. This is not a guy brought in to knock down a bunch of shots from the outside. He's a good defender. He's got a lot of length. He plays in the passing lanes. He loves to attack off the bounce. He uses that awareness to find and facilitate, as well as get to the rim and finish, where he's very, very, very good at that. This is a role player on a good basketball team. I don't feel he's a pro at this point because the shooting numbers aren't good enough to play the modern professional game. But as far as college goes, creating turnovers, driving, finishing, he's a 6'5" version of Trey Hannibal. Now, keep in mind, Trey Hannibal was like 6 feet, 5'11". So you're talking about a different guy that can play above the rim, that can finish around big guards and also posts, and a guy that has the length to be a better defender than Trey was. Trey, man, did he play hard, and I enjoyed watching him play for LSU because of the effort, the intensity, the tenacity he played with, but he was incredibly limited in a way that I don't know that I would say that Jai Bailey is that limited. He's got more prototypical size. So this would be another add into the LSU backcourt here in the mold of Tyrell Ward, a little bit shorter and different game completely. Tyrell wants to shoot threes, and Bailey wants to drive and get to the rim, but more length in the backcourt for LSU. We'll see if this decides to go through. I would honestly still very much prefer they find a big that can play defense. That would be my number one need for this team. But Jai Bailey looks to me to be a guy that can play in the SEC. The A10 is a very, very good basketball league. You're talking about VCU. You're talking about some really solid teams in that conference with St. Joseph's and St. Louis and Davidson. Dayton is in that league, and he played a good game against Dayton this past year. Had 12 points and a couple steals in that game. So I mentioned the Florida game when he had 6 steals, which was really impressive. But this is a good role player that I would not have any problem if Matt McMahon adds, other than the fact of it's not the position that I'd be adding at. So just another athletic wing, which I guess you can never have too many of those. I'll let you know if there's more development on that front with Jai Bailey for LSU men's basketball, if he is the next ad for Matt McMahon, the final ad in this class for Matt McMahon. That's it for hour number 1. If you missed it, you can catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound. We did a Pels autopsy on that season that came to a close last night. Saints undrafted free agents. You can find that at Hunt on Saints on YouTube. Glenn West talking some baseball and then some LSU basketball there to close things out. You're looking for some football? It's coming at you. We're going to pause for SportsCenter. Blake Topmeyer had a one-on-one interview with Brian Kelly last week. Published that on USA Today. We'll talk to Blake Topmeyer after SportsCenter. It's a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Is Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi. Both Joel Embiid and Kelly Oubre Jr. missed the 76ers shoot-around today ahead of a must-win in Game 5 of the first-round NBA playoff series against the Knicks tonight. Embiid, who was already questionable with left knee injury management, had a migraine. He's still questionable. Oubre, dealing with an illness, is probable. Coverage 6:30 Eastern ESPN Radio. Boston center Kristaps Porzingis undergoing imaging today on his injured calf. Celtics can close out the series with a win in Game 5 tomorrow against Miami, but they can't win a title without Porzingis, believes First Take host Stephen A. Smith.
You need him in the lineup. 7'3", can shoot, clearly can block shots. Helps Al Horford. Porzingis better be healthy enough for the next round or the round thereafter, because if not, it's a wrap.
Clippers forward Kawhi Leonard out of Game 5 against the Mavericks tomorrow because of a knee issue. That series is tied 2-2. First round Stanley Cup playoffs. Maple Leafs center Austin Matthews remains questionable. Game 5 tonight against the Bruins due to a lingering illness. Coverage 7 Eastern on ESPN. Toronto down 3-1.
Feeling great starts with a great shave, and great shaves start with Barbasol Shaving Cream. That's Barbasol Shaving Cream, an American classic for over 100 years. Close Shave America. Close Shave Barbasol.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Number 2, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Pluckers Wing Bar. Saints just added some offensive tackle help. We'll talk about that here coming up in about 15 minutes. Sharif Ishak talking Saints as well as an autopsy on the Pels season coming up at the bottom of hour number 2. Now let's talk some football. Blake Talkmeyer is the SEC columnist for the USA Today Network. Did a sit-down one-on-one with Brian Kelly, and it's been posted up at the website. I got a good look at that this morning, and he comes on the Jim's Firearms Hotline now to chat about it. Blake, thanks for the time. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It is our pleasure. Give me Brian Kelly's general mood here entering season number 3 as we sit here in the spring.
I think pretty upbeat. I think he feels like his defense is going to be improved. I mean, that's a low bar, right? The defense was a bit of a disaster last year. Even Brian Kelly admitted that, as he put it. If LSU could have played any semblance of defense last season, it would have been a playoff contender. I think he feels like they're more veteran, less reliant on transfers in the defense than a year ago. He obviously knows replicating the offense's production of Jaden Daniels and star wide receivers Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas is going to be a challenge, but I do think he fully believes in Garrett Nussmeier. Now, Nussmeier's not going to be able to run the way that Jaden Daniels did. However, I think he trusts his veteran offensive line, and he feels pretty good about his offense. So I do think, the key lingering question is he thinks his defense is going to be improved, but how much improved is sort of what remains to be seen.
I was fascinated by your line of questioning that I'll dovetail a couple of the questions together, but he said last year that entering year 3, you should really be kind of a championship level team program. And you mentioned how his teams at Central Michigan and at Notre Dame had kind of made jumps in year number 3. They played for a national championship in year number 3 at Notre Dame. How did he feel about you kind of bringing those to his attention and where his program is right now entering this 24 season?
Yeah, I was interested by what his reaction would be because, as you were alluding to there, when I sat down with Brian last summer, I asked him when he thought LSU would be able to be ready to seriously contend for a national championship. And he caused a little bit of a stir at that time by saying 2024. I think that was probably not the answer LSU fans wanted to hear last summer. I think they wanted him to say 2023, the upcoming season. But he didn't say that. And he raised some concerns, which proved correct come fall, about his defense. And so I wondered, like, would he backpedal from those comments at all whenever I brought it up? And, he made no guarantees, no bold predictions. He didn't go Joe Namath or anything and say, yes, we will win the national championship this year. But he also didn't backtrack. He didn't backpedal. When I reminded him that he said 2024 would be the year that they can contend. Now, contend is different than win a national championship, right? But he doubled down on that. He said, quote, no doubt he thinks LSU is in position this year to contend for a national championship. And the reason he says that is he feels like this program is more solid in the areas that are required to contend for a championship. And what he means by that is more depth. He thinks he has more depth within the program than he's had at any time in his tenure. I think he feels like this team is a little bit more veteran, a little bit more sign and develop guys. Certainly they still need production from transfers, and they'll probably look to add a couple more here in this window. But I think he feels like it's more reliant on guys that have been in the program for a few years. So in all those areas, I just think he feels more comfortable at this time this year than he did a year ago. Now, we can sit here and say, yeah, but how's he going to replace Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors? And I think, he didn't quite come out and say this, but I think Brian Kelly would admit you're not totally going to replace the production of those type of guys. And that's why the defense has to be better, particularly the top talents on defense, including Harold Perkins, have to perform better than they did for a year ago for Kelly's timeline to prove correct. They can contend this year.
Chatting with Blake Topmeyer, SEC columnist for USA Today. He's got a sit-down interview with Brian Kelly that's up on the website right now. I highly suggest y'all go ahead and check it out. We're hitting some high points here, but to read the thing in its entirety is well worth your time here as an LSU fan. Blake, I'm curious, you talked about the kind of hole, for lack of a better term, that Nick Saban leaves in the SEC moving on, and you mentioned that with Brian Kelly. What was his reaction?
Yeah, he didn't really bite at that one. I wondered if maybe he would, but he didn't bite at that. He said, and I found this truthful. I mean, he really endorsed Kalen DeBoer. Said he believes he's an outstanding football coach, and I mean DeBoer's track record throughout his career would suggest that that's true. Got Washington to the national championship game last year. Did a warp speed turnaround within that program. Really, has been a winner everywhere he's been. And so, what Brian Kelly said is that maybe it allows LSU's focus to be even more internal and not have to kind of worry about Saban looming out there. He didn't say the path would get easier, but maybe that the focus would be a little bit easier with Saban out of the picture. But, the other thing I asked him, if you recall, when Brian Kelly came to LSU, he talked a lot about wanting to run toward the challenges of the SEC, and that being one of the reasons why he left Notre Dame, an independent, for LSU, was the opportunity not just to coach LSU, but to coach in the SEC. And he said after he was hired that the face of that challenge was Nick Saban. And so now he's played Saban 2 years. He went 1-1. Saban retired, and I asked him, is there a new face to that challenge? And perhaps unsurprisingly, Brian Kelly said, it's Kirby Smart. And he went on to compliment other coaches in the league, obviously, but he sees Kirby Smart as the new face of the challenge, the new hurdle, kind of directly impeding LSU from SEC championships, from national championships. And probably not uncoincidentally, I think Brian Kelly is trying to build LSU's program in a similar way to what Kirby has done at Georgia. Kirby is using the portal as a way to fill in some of the cracks to boost his program, but Kirby's still largely doing it through kind of the old school way of sign, retain, develop. But the key to that is you have to be signing elite prospects. That's what Kirby Smart did. That's what Nick Saban did before him. And now we're starting to see in this 2025 recruiting class, still 7 months from signing day. However, in the early stages here, this is looking like it's going to be Brian Kelly's best signing class since he's been LSU's coach.
I realize these are just interviews, and you're not following them around for months at a time. But I'm just curious your thoughts on this. This is an exhausting job being a college football head coach these days with the transfer portal and the different signing periods and everything that goes into all of this. And Brian Kelly is not 38 years old anymore. I'm curious how hot you think he burns these days to try to climb the mountain in Baton Rouge.
I think he's pretty motivated. He didn't come out and say this, but I think he left Notre Dame in some part to try to put the national championship exclamation point on his career. I think he believes fully he can get that done at LSU. LSU's history would suggest that that's very possible. Brian Kelly's history would suggest that's possible. I mean, this as we know, this guy's not just a consistent winner. He's been a high-level winner throughout his career. Now, he has had a tendency throughout his career to lose some of the biggest games. I think he sort of bucked that trend in year one at LSU by putting that feather in his cap of beating Nick Saban in that first SEC matchup. Kelly had faced him before at Notre Dame, but in the first time facing LSU, Alabama, got Saban the first time. So he reversed that trend a little bit, but then, last year that sort of flared up again of coming up short in the biggest games. So, that's one narrative that I guess Brian Kelly has to overcome, but I do think, I do think he does burn pretty hot to try to get that national championship at LSU, and I don't sense any sort of peaking from him toward retirement. When I asked him about Saban's retirement, he said, he's sad to see Saban go because he admired and respects Saban as a coach and liked going up against him. But he didn't really offer any indication that was somewhere he was thinking. And just my own feeling would be that that's probably at least a few years down the road for him at 62 years old.
As you personally kind of survey the conference with Oklahoma and Texas coming in, Nick Saban moving out, divisions on the way out, where do you think LSU kind of stacks up as a program entering 2024?
Yeah, I think probably that second tier. If we're talking about the first tier, I would put obviously Georgia on that tier, headlining that tier. I'd put Texas on that tier. I'm really impressed with what Texas brings back. I was impressed with them all last season. And then I think we kind of get into that second tier. That's probably headed up by Ole Miss. You look at what they achieved last year, what they bring back, what they supplemented via the transfer portal. I think this is Lane Kiffin's best team that he's ever had. And coming off of a really fine season last year, I think they head up that second tier. And then I think also in that tier, you have Alabama, you have LSU, you have, I think to a certain degree, Tennessee, and Tennessee's schedule is more accommodating than Alabama or LSU's, which I think helps put them into that tier. And I think still nipping on the heels of that second tier as well would be Missouri. Missouri brings back a lot of production from last season, a team that was really good last year, and LSU had its hands full with. They're right until the end. They bring a lot back, and much like Tennessee, I think Missouri's schedule is pretty accommodating. So that's kind of how I see it. I think that's 7 teams I mentioned. 2 in the top tier being Georgia and Texas, and then 5 in the second tier. I would be surprised if someone makes the playoff outside of that list of 7. But from that list of 7, I think the SEC could have about 5, maybe even stretch it to 6, but probably more realistically 5 playoff qualifiers from that group of 7 teams that I mentioned.
He's Blake Topmeyer, SEC columnist for the USA Today Network. You can follow him on Twitter at @BTopmeyer. Has a sit-down interview with Brian Kelly that's posted up there. Highly recommend y'all check it out. We appreciate some time, Blake. Thanks.
Okay, sounds good. Good talking to you.
Always good to talk a little bit of football this time of year as we kind of put spring in the rear view mirror. Kind of got some eyes on SEC Media Days coming up in a couple of months. I don't love to start looking at that because it feels like I'm shutting the door on my beloved baseball season, but I think we're all aware of where that sits right now. So it's a tenuous spot here for LSU baseball, and that's some hope for LSU football as Brian Kelly feels pretty good about where things are headed across the street there at Football Ops. We appreciate Blake for coming on and shedding a little bit of light on all that. Sharif Ishak in 15 minutes. Come back with us on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio, video, security solutions. You can find them at avssla.com. They can do very, very simple things at AVSS, like mount your television. That's pretty easy gig. They can handle it. I can't mount a TV. You might be able to. They can do it. That's the easy stuff. They can also do super complex stuff. Like you walk into a room and say, watch a movie. And the blinds come down and the television comes on and surround sound speakers go. Your whole home automation. They can do complicated stuff like that as well. You can do anything in between. It's all your audio, it's all your video, and your security as well. Nothing more important than the security of your home. All the stuff can be controlled right there by an app. I can set and disarm my alarm. I can look at cameras that are outside my house that AVSS installed and monitor. It's a fantastic situation that they've set us up with, and they can do the same for you if you're in our listening area. It's audio, video, security solutions. I'm going to give you the phone number for Mitchell Fisher. It's a cell phone number. You get the owner of the company's cell phone number. I can't get you any better customer service than that. It's 225-439-7920. 225-439-7920. Give Mitchell a call. Have him come out and let you know what they can do for you. Whether it's your audio, video, security, they can handle it all at Audio Video Security Solutions. Check them out online at avssla.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Elevate brand visibility, ignite customer engagement with the power of radio and digital advertising combined. Guarantee Digital Media brings the two together as a trusted media partner in Louisiana for nearly a century. Claim your free digital audit at guaranteemedia.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Sandigrove joined me and Jimmy Ott for the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch from Los Reyes Mexican Grill, Wesley at Nicholson. They're getting ready for Cinco de Mayo. Wes Reynolds will join us along with Scott Rabelais and professional handicapper Randy McKay. Live at Lunch from Los Reyes on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Moving right along here on this Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Plucker. Sharif Ishak going to be with us in 10 minutes talking Saints and Pelicans. The New Orleans Saints making some moves today to shore up their offensive line depth. New Orleans Saints Executive Vice President and General Manager Mickey Loomis announced today the club has agreed to terms with tackle Justin Herron and guard center Shane Lemieux, both on one-year contracts. I'll give you the nuts and bolts on who these two players are, and then I'll give you my thoughts on these two signings. Herron is a tackle. He's 6'5", just under 300 pounds. Been a 4-year player in the NFL, originally selected by the Patriots in the 6th round of the COVID draft out of Wake Forest. Played 4 years for the Patriots and Raiders. Appeared in 35 regular season games with 11 starts. Played left tackle and right tackle and started one postseason contest at left tackle. Played in 6 games with the Raiders with 1 start as an additional offensive lineman, and then played in 1 game in 2022. Herron played 16 games for the Patriots with 2 starts at left tackle and 2 at right tackle and played in the wild card game. So he's been a depth piece at offensive tackle for a couple of organizations. Shane Lemieux is a 6'4" guard out of Oregon. He's been in the NFL for 4 years as well, originally taken by the New York Giants in the 5th round of the COVID draft. 4 years with the Giants, 18 regular season games, 12 starts at left guard. This past season in 2023, he played 4 games for New York with 1 start at left guard before he had a biceps injury that cost him the rest of his season. So, look, neither of these guys are former Pro Bowlers. Neither of them are former first-round picks. Neither of them have been stalwarts at any place in the NFL. And so these are not loud signings by any stretch of the imagination. What they are vets who have played both multiple positions, one for multiple teams, and you add some depth in terms of pros to your roster. And the thing about this is, and I'll continue to beat this drum, and it's not super sexy to talk about. It's not even fun to talk about. It's a little disheartening to talk about, but it is what it is. Neither of these guys has put the 2025 or 2026 Saints in a compromised position. You could find a situation where David Bakhtiari or Mekhi Becton could do that. Now, Mekhi Becton has signed with Philadelphia. Bakhtiari's still out there on the market, albeit coming off 9,000 injuries. But you could, if you're New Orleans, overpay for those guys to make sure they're on the roster for this year, to try to make sure the New Orleans Saints are the best they can be in 2024. 2025 and 26, be damned, we'll fix those problems when they get there. That's what you've been doing for years. You have to cut off that cycle. And it's not fun, and it makes you not as good in 2024. It's just a reality. These guys are not championship-level offensive line starters. They have not proven themselves to be that over 4 years in the league. They are functional. They can give you some depth. They may make the team. They may give you some snaps during the regular season. But again, I keep saying this, and I don't really enjoy saying it because I've talked about this at length. Like, whenever LSU baseball is going bad and I'm talking to you about it, like, I'm down there in the foxhole with you. It hurts me as bad as it hurts you to talk negative about them. Same thing goes with basketball and football. With the Saints, I kind of feel like, even though it's not really realistic, like sometimes I feel like I'm kind of talking down to you if I'm saying something negative because I'm not in the foxhole with you with the Saints. Like, I get it, and I don't love the conversation, but I'm trying to get to a more positive conversation, and that could be 2025, 2026, when you clean these books up a little bit. And they're starting to do that. They did not mortgage a bunch of the back end of their draft to move up and get one guy. They have not hamstrung themselves with risky free agent signings. They have not kicked contracts down the road with massive restructures this year in most cases. They're slowing things down a little bit, and that was going to happen. You cannot continue to run this operation like it's the train in Speed with no brakes. Just fix it on the fly. We'll just keep going. You're going to crash. Like, it has to happen. You've got to slow this thing down. And so if your answer to offensive tackle is to draft one in the first round, bring in a couple of veterans who aren't great, all-world type players, but maybe can fill in the role James Hurst plays, and you realize that you're not going to have one of the best offensive lines in football, but you haven't compromised 2025 and 2026, then I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I personally, in covering the Saints and analyzing the situation and talking to you about them almost daily, have kind of given up on the 2024 Saints. I'll be excited to settle in on the couch after a long night of doing post-game and watching the Saints that first Sunday in September. And we'll talk about it, and you hope that a lot of the young players continue to make strides, and we'll watch Brzee, and you hope on Foskey, and we'll see what Penning can do, and you've got Fulaga this year and what he has, and does Jordan Howden grow into something, and Shaheed and Olave look to be really good players, and like there will be pieces to look at. It's not going to be a complete disaster. But I'm in this thing to win divisions and to compete for home playoff games and to try to win championships, which the Saints have proven they can do. It was one stretch in their history, but they've proven they can do it. I'm just looking a couple of years out to make that happen. And so these signings don't hurt that or hinder that at all. Are they going to be headline news? No. But you're just bringing some guys in, cheap contracts, 1-year deal, no risk, can cut them in camp if you need to. And you just keep moving forward slowly but surely. And as some of these big signings come off the books and you continue to try to foster these draft picks into really solid players in your organization, maybe something clicks here moving forward. But today, Saints make a move. Justin Herron, offensive tackle, who was with the Raiders, and then Shane Lemieux, offensive guard, who was with the Giants. Those are your new signings for New Orleans. If you're looking for Saints content, you can always find it on our YouTube channel, Hunt on Saints. Subscribe up to it. It'll show up in your homepage. Hit the like button, hit the subscription button, and, of course, comment on all the posts below. Trying to get our content in front of as many people as we can. You certainly do help us with that, and we do appreciate it. When we come back, we'll briefly talk about the Saints draft class as well as what went wrong for the Pels over the last 3 weeks. We'll talk about that with Sharif Ishak coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. I tell you every single day, go to the website, OneBathAndClosets.com, and request that free consultation. But don't just do that. When you request a free consultation and David Duvall and his team show up to start your process, whether it's with a new bathroom or a new closet, tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you. $1,000 off, immediately triggered for your new project. $1,000 in savings for listeners of our show. We're so fortunate here at the Hunt Palmer Show, and you can be fortunate with the folks over at One Bath and Closets, whether it's a full-scale bathroom renovation or remodel or something simple like a tub-to-shower conversion. Maybe you've got space in your closet. You need to use it more efficiently with some more drawers and cubbies and mirrors and shelves and that kind of thing, or you need to knock something out and just put in a brand new walk-in shower. David Duvall and his crew can handle all of that. They're a licensed contractor. They will be the only call you make in this process. That's how easy it is, and they'll do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. It's One Bath and Closets. Check them out online at OneBathAndClosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the JimsFirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the JimsFirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success. and looking forward to 50 more.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana.
So join us for Tuesday's AFR presented by Sunshine. Shea Dixon joins us to talk the latest on LSU football and the transfer portal. We're recapping Pels Thunder and previewing LSU Grambling from the box. It's Tuesday's AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
Hope your work week's been off to a good start. Thanks for hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge on this Tuesday. It's Tuesday, bottom of hour number 2. That means we head down to New Orleans. Chat with the guy, Sharif Ishaq of WDSU. He joins us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Sharif, we doing okay?
I'm fine. I'm not the one who got swept.
Well, let's start with the Pels then. We'll get to the Saints draft here at the end. How disappointing a final 3 weeks of the regular season and playoff run was that for New Orleans?
About as disappointing as it gets. They went, they lost to the Lakers twice. So they went, 1-7 over the last 2+ weeks. Yeah, not great. I mean, look, when we talked last, I said, I jokingly said that they'd be up 3-1. Then before you hung up, I said they'd be down 3-1. I'm a little shocked because I thought they'd at least get one game in this series against the Thunder. But when it comes down to it, Hunt, everything went wrong for them and everything went right for the Thunder. The Pelicans just were pretty much in jail all 4 games of this series. That's how good the Thunder are defensively. They just could not do anything against that defense. I mean, turnovers were an issue. Had 19 of them last night. 21 of them in Game 3, 22 in Game 2. I mean, that's not how you win a series against the number 1 team. So there were so many issues. Brandon Ingram went missing. C.J. McCollum didn't have a good series. I mean, not having Zion hurt. We can go on and on. Just it wasn't great.
Was this a failure this season?
No. I mean, they won the 49 games. They improved from 42 to 49. In terms of that aspect, no. In terms of just not being a legit playoff team instead of doing it to the play-in like they did this year. Yeah, I mean, look, you got knocked out, you got swept, and then the only game it was close was Game 1, and after that it was not even close. They toyed with them for the last 3 games and pretty much ran them out of the building in each one of those games. So yeah, it's a failure from that. Yes and no. So yes, it's a failure because they couldn't get into the playoffs the normal way and have a competitive series.
I'm going to ask this question 2 ways and get your thoughts on it. If you were the GM, how would you approach this offseason? And then the second part is, how do you think David Griffin and his team will address the offseason? I'll start with how would you approach this offseason if you were in charge?
Well, first of all, they need to find a stretch big, an athletic stretch big. That would be my number one priority. Number two priority, and this is 1A, 1B, is handling Brandon Ingram's contract extension. If you're thinking about trading him, he has 1 year left on his deal. What are you going to get back for him? And realistically, what teams are going to trade for him after seeing what he's done in the last 3 weeks? Now, I'll say he's coming back from an injury, wasn't 100%, didn't look right. If you do trade him, the team that's getting him is going to get an amazing player when he's healthy. But is his game has his game hit his ceiling? So to me, I'm on the fence about the Brandon Ingram trade and trading him. But this team needs pieces, huh? And they've already seen what all three guys can do together on the court. They've been healthy pretty much all season, and the injury bug bit them at the wrong time. But they need to find another playmaker, a legit alpha on this team. So I need to find an alpha, whether if it's through the stretch big or finding another guy who's a point guard. They just need to find another guy who can make it easier for this team to score baskets, because we saw what happened in the last 2+ weeks. Life wasn't easy offensively for this team. They have to find a way to get, baskets a little easier. So I'm on the fence with the Brandon Ingram thing. I just don't know what your return is going to be. If you're going to sign him to an extension, it better be July 1st, because you have to wait 6 months to trade him. So what is David Griffin going to do? He said it today. Continuity was the past. That's all they wanted. And now I think the way he made it sound like changes are going to come.
Okay.
So they need to make changes. And all honesty, changes have to be made because it's not working.
So as far as changes go, Jonas walking is one change that you don't have to do anything. You just don't re-sign him, and that's one piece to this puzzle. But you're going to have to create some more options with a trade. Who is untouchable on this team outside of Zion, who I'm assuming you're going to say?
Zion, Herb, and Trey are my three untouchables. Everyone else should be on the block, but I would also throw C.J. McCollum in there, probably an untouchable.
So the only person you can trade there is, you're talking about trading Brandon Ingram. I mean, you're not going to get anything for Alvarado, and Najee Marshall's done. So
well, no, yeah. Well, you could ship off. You could also
Dyson
ship
Daniels,
Jordan Hawkins. You got a few first round picks. You can make it work. There's always ways to make it work whenever it comes to the NBA. And I'm putting CJ on the fringe of the untouchables, but those are the three guys I would definitely say who are untouchable to me: Herb, Trey, Zion, and I think Trey's going to get an extension at some point this offseason. So because he still hasn't hit his ceiling. So those are the three guys I'm keeping, and then I would work around the rest. But the potential is there for Brandon Ingram if he could just get his game completely together and be that guy, that leader, whenever the times like this come in the playoffs.
We'll see. Pels season in the rearview mirror. The Saints made some draft picks over the weekend. It started with Taliesin Fuaga. Your thoughts on that pick in the first round? Yeah, we told you fashion of Fuaga last week, and they definitely did exactly what we thought they were going to do, address that much-needed position, offensive line. It could have been any one of those two guys. If Fashion you would have felt, Fuaga would have been Fashion you, but I like him. I love him. I don't like him. I love him. I love what Fuaga can do for this team. You put him at right tackle, 734 pass block at 10, getting a lot of single sack. Is also a mauler in the run game. I think Derek Carr should be fairly happy with that pick, and maybe they can keep him a little cleaner this season. I get sacked 31 times, and he could stay healthy for most of the season. But love it. Love that first round pick. I love the attitude of Fuaga as well. I was surprised at the position that they went in the second round there with Kool-Aid McKinstry. Were you? Yes, no. It's a future pick. You're looking at what happens with Marshawn Lattimore. Paulson Adebo's entering his final year of his rookie contract. If to me, I think it's Marshawn. Whether it's this summer or next year, that's going to be the guy. I love the pick. He was awesome at Alabama. The interceptions weren't there, but he also plays a lot of press coverage. Played on the outside. It's exactly what the Saints do defensively here. So they can plug him in day one. I mean, like Nick Saban had high praise for him, saying that he can contribute right away. He thinks that he'd be special in the NFL, and who am I to argue with Nick Saban? He knows how good his players are and how
well they translate to the NFL. And I think that Kool-Aid's going to be a very good player for the Saints defense, and I think he'll be a starter not too long down the road.
Those are two guys that have got to hit, obviously. I'm not asking you to hit on every pick from the 5th round on, but was there a guy or two in those late-round picks that you liked?
I'm going to start off with the one I didn't understand was Spencer Rattler. I don't know why he drafted another quarterback. Now it makes, you got, Jay Kaner, you got Peterman. I understand Peterman and Mon may not even make the cut, but like that means you're saying your 5th round draft pick this year and your 4th round pick last year are going to be your 2 and 3 to what it's like. But I love Jalen Ford. You have to eventually find some help at linebacker. DeMario's getting up there in age. He joked that he wants to play as long, a couple years after LeBron James retires from the NBA. He wants to be playing as much as possible. Pete Werner, he's going to be coming up for a contract. You have Willie Gay, but I love Jalen Ford. I really do like Jalen Ford a ton. I just what he did at Texas, the productivity at Texas, and moving at a sideline to sideline. That's the type, I just like an athletic linebacker. I think that he can do things on this defense. So he'd be the guy that I really liked in the 5th round. And I watch out for Josiah Ethereum. Maybe he can get and find his way into the lineup, the 7th round pick, and play some offensive line. It won't be hard because this team needs offensive linemen.
I went through the undrafted free agents earlier today and talked about some of the ones that I liked. And one of them was Sincere Haynesworth, the center for Tulane, who started 43 games there uptown. It was the AAC's Offensive Lineman of the Year. We know the Saints offensive line is looking for some pieces. Any chance that he could make the squad, practice squad, or active roster?
I think practice squad would be good. He was a good leader at Tulane. You just spit out the facts, how many games he started in, and he was always available, always playing. He always played tough. Good in the run game as well. So, I think he's a practice squad player. I didn't recognize any of those names. I'll be honest with you. I did not recognize any of those names. I'm not one of those guys. Sears the only one I recognize. And they also added a couple veteran players there yesterday. They made them official today. So they're trying. They're trying to address the offensive line as best as possible. So I guess we're going to see if they're going to keep fishing and try to add a few more guys here this offseason, but, they could use as much help as possible when it comes to that offensive line.
No doubt about it. He's Sharif Ishak down there at WDSU in New Orleans with us every Tuesday. Thanks, Sharif.
See, I told you I'd be a little bit more positive today after the draft.
We certainly appreciate that. You've been very uplifting on this Tuesday.
Oh, anytime, Hunt.
Sharif Ishak, WDSU. Our Tuesday show is brought to you by Pluckers. Sports trivia tonight at Pluckers, 8:30. I'll be watching the Cubs. NBA basketball will be on. I'll certainly be watching LSU and Grambling in baseball as well. If you got some time, come on by. Nicholson location, 8:30. Have you out of there by 10 o'clock. You can win gift cards, eat some delicious wings, drink some cold beer, and have a generally quality time at Pluckers each and every Tuesday. And they bring you our Tuesday shows each and every day. We'll take one more time out, get you ready for LSU and Grambling tonight, and then close it out with some Take It or Leave It on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
ESPN Bet's ready to take you through all the huge sports moments this spring. The exclusive sportsbook of ESPN has it all, including offers and promotions from Scott Van Pelt and Stephen A. Smith. From the playoff intensity to getting out on the links and out to the ballpark, there's no better time to be a sports fan. Sign up today, and new users get $100 in bonus bets for making any sportsbook bet. Download the ESPN Bet app today. What a play. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in partnership with LeBears Lake Charles. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system. in the nation.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Sandigrove joined me and Jimmy Ott for the Wednesday edition of Live at Lunch from Los Reyes Mexican Grill, West Lee at Nicholson. They're getting ready for Cinco de Mayo. Wes Reynolds will join us along with Scott Rabelais and professional handicapper Randy McKay. Live at Lunch from Los Reyes on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live After 5 is back this spring. Clock Out and Rock Out with us Fridays from April 12th through May 24th in downtown Baton Rouge for the free concert series, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Join us for another season filled with incredible music, delicious food, talented artists, and a lively second-line parade. This Friday, May 10th, come out to see the original Panettes for Live After 5. That is not this Friday. That is next Friday. I apologize for that. But next Friday, come out to see the original Panettes for Live After 5.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar.
LSU and Grambling tonight from Alec Box Stadium. Not a game that's going to do much for LSU's NCAA tournament resume hopes. Grambling's RPI is at 269, so this will very much be another quad 4 game for LSU. But LSU shouldn't have much of an issue, and I hear you saying, they lost to Southern. They did. They lost to Southern. Yes, and Southern's not good, and neither is Grambling, but LSU should not have any trouble tonight. We'll just see. I'm curious who they start. Obviously, Cade Anderson got to start on Sunday. He's generally an option in the midweek. Thatcher Hurd has been an option in the midweek as well. I kind of think I'd like to see Thatcher Hurd go out there and throw a clean inning, strike a couple of guys out, and sit down. They're going to need him to get some outs this weekend against a hellacious lineup. And so I think you'll see Cam Johnson. I think you'll see Aiden Moffitt. I think you'll see Justin Lohr. I think you might see Christian Little as well. You did see him for a 2-inning outing on Friday and then back for an inning and 2/3 on Sunday. Maybe they want to give him some time off. But, man, I'd like to see him get back out there and keep throwing the ball really, really well because that was encouraging what we saw from him back over the weekend. So, look, not much you're going to be able to tell on the offensive side of things. When the SWAC teams come in the midweek, the pitching is generally pretty tough for LSU to get adjusted to, quite frankly, and it's going to be a lot different than what you're going to see this weekend when A&M comes to town. But I'm more concerned with LSU's pitching, throwing strikes tonight, catch the baseball, and get out of Dodge, get a win, and get ready to play in the biggest weekend of the year against Texas A&M. Our baseball breakdowns all season long are certainly brought to you by Pluckers. All right, back, take it or leave it.
Alrighty, first one here, Jason Kelsey is headed to the TV desk. He'll join the Monday Night Countdown crew this fall. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. The Kelsey guys are interesting, and they've got that podcast that's been fantastic. They play very well off of each other, and that certainly would be the dynamic because Travis has got to, play football. But Jason is really, really smart. He's got an intimate knowledge of the game, has just gotten out of it, can certainly give you insights on a lot of the players that are currently in the league. So I think that's a valuable insight. I think he'll be great. He's got a great sense of humor, great football mind. That's a perfect add to the Monday Night Countdown desk. I'm fired up for that.
Haley Bryant announced on Twitter that she'll be back for the 5th season at LSU. Back-to-back national championships incoming. Take it or leave it.
That's I'll take it. That's as big as it gets. That's the best gymnast in the country coming back to play for you, compete for you, I guess would be the more proper term to put it. So that's huge. Obviously, in the professional gym world, not a place where money just pours in unless you're in the Olympics. So Haley Bryant coming back to collegiate athletics probably gives her an opportunity to make a few bucks and to create some more memories and further her legacy, which is already the greatest in LSU history. And I would imagine she could climb to heights even higher than that in the national landscape of things. So again, I'm not going to sit here and try to pretend like I know a ton about gymnastics, LSU's roster, what the roster of those that are coming back around the country is. But I can tell you this, Haley Bryant is really, really good. And to have her back in purple and gold next year, really, really good for Jay Clark and his program. So that's really cool stuff.
LeBron James, Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant, they're out. They will not play in the second round of the playoffs for the first time in 20 years. Is this the official end of the LeBron, Steph, KD era? Take it or leave it.
I will take it. Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't see Steph having a great team there anytime soon. Obviously, the Lakers are pretty flawed, and we'll see what's next for LeBron. If it involves Bronny, then you can take all bets off the table as to what that's going to mean for anything. And look, Durant, they tried to put that monster three together over there in Phoenix, and it did not work. They couldn't win a playoff game. So, those guys are still very capable of playing quality basketball, being solid pieces on good teams. Are they wrecking the league like they did for over a decade? No, they are not. So I think that it's fair to call that over.
All right, Hun, I think you're really going to struggle with this one. The Milwaukee Brewers
hate them.
Thought they had tied their game last night against the Rays in the 9th inning, and instead of a scoring run, there was a third strike that got past the Rays catcher, enabled the Brewers' Sal Frelick to score from third. However, Bowers, the hitter, was ruled out, and Frelick was ordered to go back to third when plate umpire Ryan Addington ruled that the hitter's backswing hit Pinto's helmet. You feel sorry for the Brewers. Take it or leave it.
Leave it. You could have not read the whole thing and just given me that. I'll leave it right there. It's beautiful. That's illegal play. Can't hit the catcher in the back of the head. Dead ball. Send the runner back to third base. Excellent work. I'm always very complimentary of umpires and officials.
Yes, they're really good.
In this case, I'm absolutely right on cue there. The Brewers are dorks, and I don't want them to ever win. And so last night when they didn't win, that's good. And the Cubs did win, and they're in first place, which we also like. So all's right in the world.
Eat your heart out, Luke Johnson. Last one here. Dave & Buster's will allow $5 bets on Pop-A-Shot and Skee Ball. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to take it. You have the right to gamble your cash. That's fine. I can just see this getting a little bit slippery. You got the college boys there. They're one too many cups into it. We're trying to win our money back on Skee Ball. We're fearing, and Skee Ball's already kind of rigged against you.
Yeah.
And I just.
How does this work? I'm wondering. Is it do they give you an over/under? Like if you make more than 10 shots on Pop-A-Shot, you win $5?
I don't know if this is 1v1. If you're betting the house, I don't know how it works. I just know that there's a lot of alcohol involved at Dave & Buster's.
Yeah, there usually is.
I can see some people getting really cranky, losing their 5th Skee Ball game in a row, and firing a Skee Ball off the wall. That's an issue that could be a bit of a problem if you're a little bit intoxicated. So, look, I'm pro gambling. You can do it at your own peril. I just feel like the scene in Dave & Buster's.
It could get a little
maybe some
dicey.
people that are not necessarily in a great spot to be gambling a lot of money in the first place. Maybe a little bit into their cups, maybe a little frustrated. I can see it getting a little sideways, but do it at your own risk. I'm pro that. So that's it for Take It or Leave It here on this Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. That was a lot to get to over the last 2 hours. We talked about the Pels. I talked about Saints undrafted free agents that they signed In the second segment, Glenn West talking LSU baseball with us at 1:30. LSU basketball had a visitor this weekend on campus. Is Jai Bailey the next piece for LSU basketball? Richmond transfer. I gave you kind of my scouting report on him at the end of hour number 1. Blake Topmeyer was with us at the top of hour number 2. Blake's the SEC columnist for USA Today. He sat down with Brian Kelly for a one-on-one interview. The entirety of that interview is posted online at USA Today, but we talked with Blake. If you want to catch that, you can do so on our YouTube page, Hunt on LSU. We also talked about the Saints signing some veteran offensive line prospects. You want that information, you can get it at Hunt on Saints on YouTube. And we chatted with Sharif Isaac about the Saints and Pels as well. If you miss any of our show, you can always catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound, you can certainly find us. And, of course, on YouTube, our shows are archived in their entirety there, as well as our segments on Hunt on LSU and Hunt on Saints. Our Tuesday shows are brought to you by Pluckers. I'll be there for sports trivia tonight. Hope you will as well. LSU baseball 6:30 against Grambling. If you want to listen to that, you can do so on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. Musso is going to drive you home on After Further Review this afternoon. We're back tomorrow, same time, same place. It'll be a What If Wednesday, and we'll chat with Koki Riley on the Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play.